You're listening to Wild Culture, a podcast discussing consumer culture and the powerful influence of business strategy. Okay, this one's going to get a little uncomfortable, but stay with me. How many times have you heard the phrase, add more value? Add more value, add more value. We need to add a little more value here. Can anyone think of a way to add more value? All we got to do is add more value. Geez, these features really add value. Adding value has got to be one of the most cringy, eye-roll inducing phrases in business. It's also one of the topics we love getting into the detail with here at Wild Culture. I'm Tanyika. For those who don't know me, I'm a strategic planner, marketer, researcher, and author, and I've worked extensively with organizations over my career to help them add value for their customers. The core concept is simple. Value means something has worth. And critically, value is not the same as a reward consumers seek when they make a purchase. The distinction that true value adds is the difference between a consumer buying your product or your competitors. That is the top level definition of adding value. But here's the thing. Consumers don't look at a product and think, geez, that's got added value. No. Consumers buy a product because of the reward they get from it. They make that purchase because the product has an established pattern of performance that's so reliable they know they can depend on it. Adding value is the job of the business, and it's what we build into the product or service. And we do it not just to increase the chance of us making money, but to decrease the chance of the business failing to attract enough customers. So adding value is actually a selling proposition. And a good selling proposition solves the problem of making the product feel more rewarding to the customers who buy it. So why is adding value such a cringe statement? It's because social media is drowning in business coaches and thought leaders that throw this word around. Very few of them actually break it down step by step into an actionable strategy that can be followed. Okay. So let's cut through the buzzwords. In today's episode, we're going to walk right through what it means for your business to actually add value. That is the value that customers are willing to open their wallets for. And as always here at Wild Culture, we're going to do it through the lens of business strategy and, more importantly, consumer behavior. This episode is essential listening if you're working in content, product innovation, or marketing. First things first, let's be honest about ourselves as consumers. We're all a little quirky. Some of us are the type of person who will queue all night in -4 degrees just to be the first in line to buy a Labubu or the latest Apple product. Some of us will happily pay twice the price for organic kale versus regular kale. And some of us will only buy clothing from specific brands because of the belief that the quality is superior, even if the factory, the materials, and the style are virtually identical to a generic brand. This, my friends, is the complexity of perceived value. Perceived value follows a very simple rule. What is valuable to me is defined by my perceptions, and what is valuable to you is defined by your perceptions. And the trouble with perception is that it's informed by an unpredictable mess of things, like our unique experiences, our cognitive biases, ingrained stereotypes, and even childhood conditioning. These are the systems and beliefs that limit or control the background soundtrack playing in our minds. So how do you, as a business, play in this playground where there is no clear-cut, one-size-fits-all definition of value? It boils down to understanding what consumers think they value and appreciating that what they value often isn't rational and often isn't always easy for them to articulate. This is why you see many brands, particularly in fashion, convey emotions in their marketing, because sometimes the value a customer is looking for is as wispy as a feeling. Now, a lot of businesses try to get a directional inkling, and I want to stress the word inkling by conducting consumer research, but here's the red herring trap. consumer research isn't a silver bullet. And some of you listening may have been stung by this example. The consumer says they would value X, so you build X, and then all you hear is crickets. You wonder what went wrong. What went wrong is the common misunderstanding that the customer can always clearly articulate what they value. Their words are not the full story. In fact, consumer research often returns a mixed bag of qualitative and quantitative findings that conflict with the consumer's actual behaviour. Think about this. Customers ask for X, but sales go down. Or sales go up, but customers say they are unhappy with the customer service. This contradiction and confusion can be normal depending on your product and market. So relying solely on this research is the lazy way to get inside your customer's head. As business people, we need to build skills in empathy. We need to ask the right questions, which is a complex skill in itself. And we need to actively read between the lines of any confusion and contradiction. That is how you truly get into the customer's mindset and hear the real thing they're asking for. I want to emphasize the word customer here. As human beings, we value family, compassion, honesty, social connections. But when we transition into the role of a customer, I've found throughout my career, there are really only 6 things customers are reliably willing to spend money on. This is where you want to grab your pen and paper and listen in. So let's count these 6 things down. The first is experience. We're living in the experience era. It's undeniable. High quality studies worldwide have shown that consumers are spending more on things like concerts, skydiving, and holidays. Experiences create memories that last forever, and we value that over tangible goods that break. The return on investment of experiences from the consumer lens is high. What's fascinating is that the desire for experience is so strong, consumers are willing to spend more on the experiential qualities of something, even if the underlying quality is inferior. So your strategy takeaway here is, can your product or service be wrapped in an unforgettable moment? The second is status. If you're a brand leader, this is your area of genius. Status is the thing that differentiates a brand or product on the shelf. It's what consumers want to be associated with. It gives the customer a feeling of having acquired a greater standing in life. Think about it. Top universities confer an elite educational status. Luxury brands like Chanel, my favorite, confer an elegance status. Premium sports cars, often with limited availability, confer an exclusivity status. 6-star hotels confer a high opulence status. Or if you're a business, buying premium CRM software, that's customer relationship management software like Salesforce, or using a top management consultancy doesn't just improve efficiency, it confers a professional status that acts like an insurance for stakeholders, and it makes employees feel they are part of a leading organization. But status isn't always about social elitism. Sometimes the status the consumer is looking for is simply being organized or comfortable, or even the rage against the machine status of being non-mainstream and non-grandiose, not having a facade in life. The psychology takeaway here is status fulfills the deep human need for belonging or differentiation. What identity is your product selling? The third is time. Any product that creates more time for the consumer is generally going to make it easier for them to hand over their money, and they'll probably pay a premium price for it. A person who values spending time with family will happily become a customer of a product that creates time. The success of robot vacuums and mops, costing anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s, is based entirely on saving the customer from spending time doing a task they don't like. In a B2B situation, a project management tool or supply chain automation might cost millions, but they save thousands in employee hours, freeing leadership up to work on visionary growth strategies rather than bogging them down in the weeds. Time and money are the two biggest drivers of stress in our lives, making them huge, huge value creators. Strategy takeaway. Measure your value add in minutes saved, not just features added. The fourth is money, and this one sounds counterintuitive. Customers will pay for a product that makes them more money, saves them money, or helps them get more control over their money. This is the core proposition of banks and financial advisors, but it leaks into everything. Pricing models, payment plans, budget creation tools, even B2B software is bought because it creates a pathway to building greater revenue. Your strategy takeaway here is clearly define your return on investment for the customer, even if that return is a smaller utility bill. The fifth thing customers value is risk management. A product that reduces the risk of something going wrong is immediately valuable to customers. Insurance has been the classic example of risk management for decades, but think of fire extinguishers. Think about protective apparel like steel cap boots or something as simple as a protective tablecloth. On the business side, this value driver accounts for major investments in cybersecurity services, disaster recovery infrastructure, and hiring high-end regulatory compliance firms, even when there's no immediate threat. These purchases help both consumers and B2B organizations manage the risk of catastrophic failure, massive legal fines, or personal harm. Risk is the psychological discomfort of the unknown. We pay to make that discomfort go away. Lucky last, and deliberately number 6, is skill. If a customer, whether a consumer or a business, doesn't have the skill they need, they will pay for someone who does. That might be direct labor hire, or it might be paying a manufacturer who has the right equipment or manufacturing capabilities. So a coffee shop pays for a steady supply of quality paper cups from a maker with the skill and machinery to do so. And a person who has no skills in carpentry will happily pay someone with carpentry skills and equipment. For a business, paying for skill is how you access crucial capability that is either too expensive to hire full-time or too time-consuming to build in-house. This includes hiring, people like fractional CMOs, an outsourced CFO, or it could be subscribing to a sophisticated AI language model. You are essentially purchasing the capability or the expertise. Now, what makes skill the most complex of the 6? Skill has a reduced consumer pool. Many consumers will find paying for a skill more painful than whatever they stand to gain from it. This is loss aversion 101 mixed with human comparison and personal satisfaction. People have a tendency to look at someone else applying a skill and think, well, I could learn to do that. And if I learn it, I won't have to pay for it. Plus, I'll probably enjoy it. The consumers who do pay for skill will only do so when there's absolutely no alternative, or if paying for it substantially improves their access to one of the other 5 value pillars: experience, status, time, money, or risk management. So your strategy takeaway here is don't just sell your skill. Sell how your skill unlocks one of the other 5 core values. So there's my take on the 6 things customers value. Now, what can you do with this information to create more value add for your customers? First, remember that value is always in the eye of the beholder. The consumer is the only person with an intimate view of their psychological landscape, their biases, their emotional triggers, and the social pressures that drive their decisions. Master understanding and stepping inside that landscape. Secondly, build a product or service that adds value for your ideal customer in one or more of the 6 ways we've discussed. It's wonderfully fun to be creative and to build things, but successful business requires us to create things that consumers are willing to pay for because they can clearly see the value in them. And that, my friends, is often all it takes. Just those things. So A big question to wrap up the episode today. Which of these 6 value pillars is the cornerstone of your business strategy right now? Let me know your answer in the comments or find us and send us a message on Wild Culture's social channels. Thanks for listening in. Till next time. Thanks for listening in to Wild Culture. If you found value in our conversation today, please make sure you follow or subscribe to the show wherever you listen. Taking a moment to leave us a quick rating or review is the best way you can help other curious strategists and passionate spenders find us as well. Bye for now.